Hello, everybody, and welcome to the KC CHIROPulse Podcast, brought to you by Kats Consultants, helping chiropractors keep their pulse on success. I'm Dr. Michael Perusich. I'm joined today, as usual, with Dr. Troy Fox. Troy, how the heck are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
Good.
Good to be here.
Yeah, and so we hear a little background noise because the lawn mowing people decided to mow Doc's yard right about the same time we decided to do this. So you're not hearing, that's not aliens. I know that there's been a lot of government stuff released, but yeah.
Right, don't slap your computer around. It's not your computer.
Nope. It's actually us. We're making that noise.
It's the low moan of the weed eater.
Absolutely. Speaking, I was thinking about that. You were talking about that in the economy, and I've got a great question today. And I was thinking about that. The lawn mowing guys, they're going to town. The bad economy, I don't think affected them at all. They're like, nope, people still need their lawns mowed.
Yep, people are still getting their lawns mowed.
And people still need chiropractic. But I'll tell you what, there have been some people really concerned. And so I got a question. And before we do the question, I want to remind you guys, you can get a hold of me and ask us anything. I mean, we know a little bit about everything and a lot about nothing probably, but we'll be willing to address the topic. So if you want to reach us, email me your questions at troy@katsconsultants.com. And that's Kats with the K, troy@katsconsultants.com.
Yep.
Ask us anything you want.
And if we use your question on air, we'll give you a shout out.
Absolutely. Like who we're going to talk about today. So I've got one of my Kansas guys today that actually emailed us. Jeff from Wichita said, hey, I've got some concerns, and I'm still concerned about the economy, even though it's starting to come back, how it's been affecting other people's practices and ways doctors can overcome, which I think that's one of those wanting to know how something works, asking for a friend, right? When you're really asking for yourself. So Jeff, we appreciate your question. We know that the economy has affected practices, and we've got some pretty powerful tools to help you overcome those. So I'll let you take it away and jump right in the middle of that question.
Okay. Yeah. It's a great question. And it's a valid question right now. Yes, we're coming out of a pandemic and the economy seems like it's going strong. However, we're starting to see a few little signs of inflation creeping in. We're starting to see some signs of maybe interest rates aren't going to stay where they've been. So we're starting to see some interesting things happen, and we're still seeing a lot of ups and downs in the markets. In fact, a lot of the market gurus, probably about 3-4 weeks ago, were saying we should end up at about an 8% increase in the stock market by the end of the year. A week after that, they were saying, well, maybe it's more like a 6% increase. This last week, they're saying, yeah, looking like we might be under 5%. So we're starting to see that slide, and that's the result of inflation kind of coming back into play. And we see inflation in things like gasoline prices. I know down here where I'm at, gasoline prices are pushing $4 a gallon. So, all of those things decrease disposable income for our patients, for anybody. And when you decrease disposable income, people start looking at the services and the things that they buy and figuring out, what can I cut out? And this is a real opportunity for chiropractic, in my opinion, because coming out of the pandemic, we're getting used more and more, not in a bad way. People are using our services more and more because people are starting to wake up to the fact that, it's the chiropractors. Those are the doctors keeping patients healthy and well. And coming out of the pandemic, we know we've got to do more to have a healthier lifestyle to avoid things like COVID or whatever the next virus that comes along might be.
Right.
And so there's really an opportunity here for chiropractors. Now, you and I both have already seen that some chiropractors through the pandemic have been very negatively impacted, while others had banner years. And there's some really strong reasons why that's happened. And some have been able to create, and we've done this for all of our clients, been able to create an insulation process against the negativity in the market, whether it's a pandemic or an economic crisis or inflation or whatever it might be. So it's a great question to be asking right now. and a great realization to come to of some of the things that you can do in your practice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if you're willing to listen to the help, it makes a whole lot of difference. We've had some people that are just adamant about the way that they've run their practice for the last 20 years or 10 years or 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it's supposed to be run and going to continue to be run. And, come hell or high water, it doesn't matter whether there's been a pandemic or not. They're going back to that practice style as we come out of the pandemic. And we've seen over the last year that the whole model of the way that patients approach chiropractic practice has changed. And as a result, as chiropractors, we must change. They're looking for trusted individuals. I think that's probably one of the key things that we are teaching our clients is how to become a trusted advisor to your patients.
Yep.
Not just the guy that you go in to get your back popped by because it hurts, when you've worked 40 hours this week. Right. Those days are gone. The day of trusted advisor is here. It's a heady responsibility, but it also is one that creates longevity in your practice, and it creates a position where that disposable income, you're not really on the chopping block when you're a trusted advisor.
Correct. That's one of the economic insulators for our practices.
Yeah.
Is ingratiating your patients to you. In other words, making relationships that are unbreakable. And we preach that one all the time, but it kind of falls into that realm of what we call strategic relationship marketing. Mm-hmm. And if you're latching onto that whole idea, and I know some of you out there don't know what that is, but if you're latching onto this idea of strategic relationship marketing, you're creating an insulation process for your practice against economic downturn. And there's a couple of other ways that you can protect your practice a little bit too. One is increasing your capacity. Now, to increase capacity in a downturning market, which we may or may not be in yet, but if it's coming, it's not always an easy thing to do. It's kind of like swimming upstream as a salmon, and you got bears on both sides of the stream working against you as well. So you got danger all around you.
Yeah.
And but if you do it right, as we saw through the pandemic, those practices that did it right are shooting the lights out, and their capacity has grown in a way that they can feel just a little bit of a dip in their patient visits, and it isn't going to hurt their long-term profit. So that's one way you can do it. And another way you can do it is by raising your fees. And I would strongly, in practice right now, I would strongly look at your cash-based services. And where are you? Where are you compared to the rest of the marketplace? Where are you compared to the coding manual RVUs? Are you one of those clinics? And we see a lot of them who hasn't raised the prices in 5, 8, 10 years. That's another way that you can insulate your practice a little bit, is by looking at your pricing structure and making some changes. And there are some great ways to make some changes without the patients necessarily feeling the bite, but getting them more locked into care at a higher rate.
Yeah, and if you're one of those docs that says, well, gee, I just can't do that in my area, don't think we haven't ever heard that like 1,000 times. And I can give you 1,000 examples of people that went completely against that and go, we're going to do what you tell us to do. And they're like, I cannot believe we didn't do this before. Right. 5, 8, 10 years ago, when they were saying, absolutely not, the market's not going to bear it in our area, this, that, or the other. And there are some people that, with the pandemic, a really good thing happened. Some people threw their arms up in the air and said, I'm scared, I don't know what to do, and I'm going to trust what you tell us to do. And they did it, and then they went, whoa.
Yeah.
We actually we're growing right now. We're coming out of the pandemic best we've ever been. But it was because they let all their defenses down, because they were actually scared that maybe this was the end. They were really concerned that maybe they couldn't survive as a practice, or wouldn't survive, or chiropractic was going to be, a healthcare discipline that just didn't make it through, other than just a very few. I mean, we had all kinds of people talking about, being concerned. And so some people just said, you know what, I'm going to throw my hands up in the air. I'm going to let you guys take the wheel, kind of like Jesus taking the wheel, except he's a lot better at it than I am.
Right. Amen.
But they said, give us the wheel, or they said, we're going to give you the wheel. We're going to listen to what you say. And so those are some of the things, like increasing fees or reinforcing the need for care, reinforcing maybe better education programs. Another topic that has come up that we talk about is value-added services in your practice.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up because you were talking about that the other day, and speak to that one.
Yeah, so the key to value-added services is this. A lot of people talk about, we do this in our practice, and they're very excited about it. I'm excited for you too. I think it's great. Except what I want to do is I want to evaluate it and determine, is that value-added service that you've latched onto, is that really the one that's actually making you some income? Or are there other value-added services in your practice that have a much better margin, a much better retention for patients and longevity? So we want to look at that, and that's part of what we do with our clients is we look at your value-added services. Are your price points where they need to be? Okay, that's number one. Number two, is it a value-added service that helps your patient long-term? Is it going to be something that's going to create a better relationship with your patient? And is it going to be something that your patients will utilize long-term for health? Those are some of the things that we look at, when we're looking at a relative value unit, an RVU for a value-added service. That's exactly what we're looking at.
Yeah, exactly. And then you've got to couple that too then with the end product, and the end product in your clinic is, are you profitable? And how many clinics have we seen that are doing 6 and 7 services on patients, which may be warranted? I'm not speaking against it necessarily.
Right.
Warranted. But have you picked it apart to determine, number one, is it making you profitable? Number two, is it allowing you to have the capacity that you may need to be profitable? Number three, if we're oops, I lost a finger. If you're seeing a downturn in the market, are you creating such a financial burden on patients that they just can't keep coming back for those multiple visits? And it's that long-term patient that you have the strongest relationship with and is going to send more patients to you.
Right. And I think I can add to that. We see often people are sometimes running scared, and they go, well, if I do 3 therapies on a patient instead of 2 therapies, they're much happier. Well, what we do is we create an environment where whether the patient needs a therapy or not, it's a feel good. And they're like, oh man, I love it when you put me on that roller table, then do stim on me, then do some attended ultrasound, and then maybe you do some resistive stretches with me, and you charge me $10 for therapy.
Yeah. You spend 30 minutes with me.
Right. And so with the other thing that we see, even if you're not doing that and you're charging, hey, great, if you can charge for 6 therapies and get paid for all of them, you probably don't have a problem. But here's what we see oftentimes. We see services being given away, and we see minutes being given away. So what happens is your capacity in your practice, I've seen docs tell me, I can't see more than 20 patients in a day. I'm like, what? I'm a little confused. Are you only working an hour a day? I can only see 20 patients in a day. Okay, so you can only see 20, and I'm just using numbers here, folks. I'm not, don't jump all over me and say, well, gee, I can't see 5 patients every 15 minutes. I'm just throwing a number out there. Let's call it 2 hours. Let's give you 2.5 patients every 15 minutes. But what I'm saying is this: if you're taking 45 minutes per patient and you're working 12 hours in a day, you can see 20 people.
Yep.
And you know what? You're full. You're full if you're seeing 45 minutes with each patient. I would suggest either A, you spend a little time with each patient, less time, or if they really require that much time in your practice, because I'm not making the diagnosis on your patient, but I will tell you that if that patient requires being in your building for 45 minutes, that you have some staff that you can cross-train in the techniques that you do for therapies, and that you're not providing all that therapy. Or if you're in a state where it requires the therapist to be certified, get certified therapists so you can free up your time as a doctor so you can see more than 20 people in a day.
Yeah, it's the time value of money.
Exactly.
Doctors all the time tell us, well, I see this many people in an hour or a day. I'll be honest, that's great. Whatever you see and you're happy with it, that's great. I care more not about the number of patients you're seeing. I care more about what you make an hour. So ask yourself, how much do you make an hour? And and there's probably a lot of question marks around that one, because we find this all the time. Docs don't know how much they make an hour.
Hey, did you know how much you were worth an hour when you were in practice?
Of course,
full time. Yeah, so did I. So when I got deposed, that was my hourly rate.
That's exactly where I was going.
Yeah, I'm like, if you're going to take an hour of my time, you're going to pay me for what I'm worth. So yeah, you guys should know what you're worth. I mean, who knows when you might get deposed on a case, a PI case or something like that, and they go, well, how much are you an hour? And you go, well, I made $15 last hour. No, I mean, you really know how much money are you making an hour? That's what you should be charging. And I would tell you right now that, I've got a young man that is 17, he's 18 years old. He waits tables and he makes about $60 an hour waiting tables. So if your number is 60 or below, you probably maybe need to rethink how your practice is structured.
Yep. So absolutely. As a doctor, you ought to be making, and this is on the gross side, not the net side. You should be making at least $250 an hour. And if you're not, okay, let's fix it. Let's create some processes to make you make that much an hour.
Right. So that's how we work in this economy. And Dr. Perusich does a lot of consults, and these are free of charge. We just, if you're like, hey, I got a problem, or my practice needs to grow, or I want to be better than I am right now, and I want to learn how you guys did that and how you do it with your clients, because I'd say a full 90% of our clients came out of the pandemic with the pedal pushed to the floor. And that's no exaggeration. We were
like all rocket ships.
Yeah, we were all smiles and a little bit taken aback. Not that we didn't expect our clients to do well, but I thought 75% would have been a good number, and we were like a full 90%. I'm looking going, whoa.
Yeah, Elon Musk didn't have anything on them.
No, not at all. So yeah, so if you are thinking, you know what, I need to take my practice to the next level, and I want other doctors that understand not only how it needs to be done, but how to do it ethically, how to make sure that I don't get awry of insurance and Medicare. Those are very important. I mean, you can get yourself in trouble real quick doing it the wrong way. So I want to work with doctors that understand and are compliant doctors, are ethical doctors that we're working with, and we're not just individuals that talk about chiropractic. We are chiropractors. Then we're probably who you want to talk to. And I know Dr. Perusich will sit down and spend the time with you. I am not full-time to where I do consulting all the time like Dr. Perusich does. So that's why I push it off on him, because I know he will probably be the one to talk to you initially. I may be along the way, but he will take the time to sit down and go, what's going on with your practice? Let's do it's like putting the thermometer in your mouth. Let's take the temperature of your practice and find out where it's at and what do we need to do. So.
And don't let anybody tell you that it can't happen. I talked to a doctor the other day that was just completely beaten up by people telling him, oh, after this pandemic, none of us are going to stay in business. And I'm like, don't let anybody, Troy, how many times did you and I have people tell us, oh, you can't have that kind of practice where you're at?
Oh yeah, right from the beginning. That isn't going to work. Rent a house, live upstairs, and practice downstairs because you're not going to be here long. That was the first thing I was told when I went into practice, and I ended up blowing the doors off within about 9 months. Yeah,
and so did I. And how big is your town? 15,000.
Yeah, exactly.
And mine was 19,000.
Yeah.
So don't let anybody tell you that these principles don't work, because they do. And, in some ways, maybe we've kind of unlocked the secret of how to practice. I don't know that it's really that genie-like, that technical, but we can teach you how to grow your practice in any economy.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, you notice we're not saying we're going to get you new patients every day all the time, because that's not really how we work with doctors to get their practices successful. Because if you're chasing that new patient train, it's running away from you on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis. And if you're looking for new patient numbers every month, you get to start over at the beginning of every month with 0 and go, how am I going to climb this mountain once again this month?
Yeah, let's build.
Oh my gosh, every month.
What was it?
That is
in the movie Taken. What did Liam Neeson say? good luck.
Good luck, exactly, because it gets old real quick. And so we try to teach a structured practice that actually will be sustainable for you long term, and it's one that your patients just love.
It's around business strategies, not new patient gimmicks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
or
let
just
them know
motivation.
So let them know if they want to get a hold of you, Doc. How do they get a hold of you?
The simplest thing to do is just go to the Kats Consultants website. And again, it's Kats with a K, katsconsultants.com. On there, you can do one of about three things. You can email us. You can, our phone number's on there. You can call us. Or the simplest thing to do is click make an appointment in the top right corner, and it'll take you right to my calendar. And just find a time that works for you. And we'll jump on a call together, and we'll spend a little bit of time and talk through what's going on in your practice. And if nothing else, and if you find that you don't think we can help you, that's okay. We just like meeting docs that we don't know.
It's pretty much just like these little podcasts that we do where we talk back and forth. I mean, literally when we're talking to docs, it's the same thing. We're gathering some information, trying to figure out what you need and how we can help you. And then we can go, here's what we do.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody asked me the other day about our podcast and said, how much time do you guys spend rehearsing? I can honestly tell you 0 minutes. This is all off the cuff.
We are so darn busy that a lot of times it takes us 2 or 3 attempts because we'll have meetings run over or whatever.
Together,
and then we finally get together and we're like, hit record, let's go. So there's no rehearsal.
That's
funny. My gosh.
Hey, that was a great question. Jeff from Wichita. It was Jeff, right?
Yep.
I think we might know Jeff. So Jeff, good job. I appreciate it. So anybody, you have a question about your practice, send it to Troy at Kats Consultants, Kats with a K. Send it to Troy at katsconsultants.com, and we'll try to put it on the air and banter it around just a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Good session, Troy.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the KC CHIROpulse Podcast, brought to you by Kats Consultants, helping you keep your pulse on success. Be sure to check us out at katsconsultants.com. And from all of us at Kats Consultants, stay well-informed and well-adjusted. We'll see you next time.